I officially opened the shelter about 12 years ago. I've done rescue work literally since I was about 5 or 6 years old.
How'd you get involved in it?
My mother started doing TNR, which is trap, neuter, and release of feral cats when I was a kid, and I would tag along with her and do that with a hobby that just kind of grew out of control and eventually became a very small shelter. But as small as we are, we do a lot. We do about 2,000 adoptions a year.
That's amazing, really amazing. So what can you tell me about how we can improve the shelters in New York City?
The goal is to try to become a no-kill shelter, a no-kill city,
which is one of my objectives.
A lot of it is funding, the
resources
and funding. Yeah. They don't have what they need to do the work they want to do.
Right.
People at ACC that I know, they're not bad at all. They're great people. They want to do, but their hands are tied
by the bureaucracy, the resources.
Exactly.
Well, there's no doubt that the city has plenty of cash. We get a $5 billion reserve in New York City, and I don't think it would be prohibitive to have state-of-the-art shelters in New York City. It's a matter of having the political will, and I'm fortunate to have met Rob and these folks and been educating me about the issue. And I don't think it's a heavy lift, quite honestly. I really don't. I think we need 5 shelters, state-of-the-art shelters, 1 per borough. A board that's made up of animal activists like yourself and Rob and folks that are going to oversee this situation instead of bureaucrats. I'll be honest. I was a council member, for 15 years, from '82 to '97, and there were some animal issues that surfaced, but really very cosmetic. Never really drilled down. And now I'm fully educated on the matter, and I'm not fully educated, but I know a lot more about it. And I
Times
also
are different. There was not as much known back
no,
then.
it was nobody seemed to be concerned about it. And the only issue that came up was the pit bull issues, with pit bulls being dangerous and what have you, which is another story, I guess, that has to be addressed. But I mean, quite honestly, we're in New York City, right? We should have the best shelter system in the country, right? And when you see Austin, Texas, with a state-of-the-art shelter, you say, why don't we have it here? We certainly have the resource to do it. And also, as I point out repeatedly, when we do things in New York City, it has a ripple effect across America. I've got stuff sent to me from Italy. And what they do there is amazing with animals. And I'm saying to myself, why aren't we doing it in New York City? Why do we have this bureaucratic morass out there that's just creating a lot of angry people? I mean, a lot of the animal activists are angry when these dogs get euthanized. People want to adopt the dog. They drive up from. I saw something yesterday. A woman drove up from Georgia, and then when she got here, they euthanized the dog. At the ACC. So it's been. I don't think it's gotten the political attention, and I'm going to generate it. I'm doing a lot of press around it. It's going to be part of my website. Should be done by next week, and it's going to have a platform on animal rights, no-kill policy, state-of-the-art shelters, 5 shelters around the city, activists on the board, and instead of bureaucrats and lawyers and what have you. I'm sure they've got some good people there at the ACC, but their hands are tied. It's like anything else. You don't have the resources, you can't do the job. It's that simple. I mean, you can't go into a war without bullets, basically, if you don't have the money. And some of it may be due to mismanagement. I don't know. I haven't done a deep dive yet on what's going on over there, but based on the feedback I've gotten, it's a combination of lack of funding and mismanagement. So, I'd love feedback from you. I mean, you've been in the arena for a long time. So, and I'm a Brooklyn guy. I didn't even know this place existed. And I grew up in Park Slope.
Our 10th year here, so
it's really amazing. Did you grow up in the city?
I grew up 1 block over.
You're kidding me? That is amazing. So you've been a Windsor Terrace guy all your life. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Lincoln.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. So, any suggestions? Any besides funding? Anything else we could be doing as a city?
I mean, that's going to be the key. Stronger laws on spay neuter. You know, that's really another important key.
Yeah. How do we get that done?
It's got to organize it. You know, there've been some steps in the last couple of years that have been good. Like now, it's mandatory for pet stores to spay and neuter before they sell the dogs, which is a helpful thing. But you still have the majority of the dogs that are shown by ACC are dogs that people are breeding in their homes, especially the pit bulls. They just breed them because they can make a quick buck on the street corner.
Right.
And they do, and that's why they just keep making them. And that's a big part of the overpopulation.
So how do you get those people to?
Part of it can be education. Part of it may have to be legislative. You know, maybe part of dog ownership in New York City means you have to
Spay and neuter. Why isn't that? I mean, that seems to me pretty reasonable.
The truth is, the problem is overpopulation. That is really what it comes down to.
Because if you spay and neuter, you won't have that problem. You won't have as many strays, right?
Every shelter is overcrowded, whether they're public or private, like us. We're all overcrowded.
Okay.
You know, people like ACC don't have the ability to say, sorry, we can't take it. They have to take everything that comes in.
Right.
I spend half my day telling people, I'm sorry, but I can't take your animal because this is all the space I have.
Right.
You know, so there's a limit to what any of us can do. So getting the numbers down through spay neuter would really be the biggest.
Well, it seems to me that there has been no comprehensive effort on the part of the city around animal activists. Because some of the stuff that you just pointed out, and it's been pointed out by others, is not that difficult to achieve. I mean, you just need legislation. You need a little bit more aggressive enforcement. Make sure that people comply with the law's spay neutering stuff, and high quality shelters, and maybe support for shelters like yours as well. How do you get your funding?
We just do it through fundraising, begging.
You get nothing from the city?
We get nothing from the city.
That's ridiculous.
To my understanding, the city only funds ACC because they have X amount of money that they're going to put into a shelter system. They're going to put it into their shelter system.
But there's a lot of money beyond just what the city allocates during the budget. It's part of the budget process, but there's a lot of ways to fund things. For example, a lot of Little League teams get grants, right? A lot of local health clinics get grants from the city council members. So there's other ways to help shelters like yours, rescue facilities like yours, and it would make sense because I think the city saves money in the long run, right? So it's how many
having more rescue shelters like us, it's very difficult to open a shelter like this in New York City.
Right.
It's
how difficult?
There's so much bureaucracy, so much red tape. Trying to keep it open. There's so much politics involved. Everybody's, pushing against it. You piss one person off.
Well, what do you mean?
So it's hard. I have seen so many shelters like us try to open. They open and then they close down. It's usually the city steps in.
Because of bureaucracy?
Usually it's because of
or
bureaucracy.
mismanagement.
Sometimes it's mismanagement. Sometimes it's a lot of it's underfunding.
Right.
But a bunch of little guys like us all doing our part could really help bring down the numbers also.
Right.
But it's hard. You can't get rent in New York City. You can't find an affordable.
It's true, by the way.
We had a warehouse and unfortunately had to close it. Warehouse space in New York City is tens of thousands of dollars a month.
But there are now efforts to house nonprofits around the city as part of the development efforts. But I don't know how good
that
they
stuff
are.
they like offices for nonprofit. They don't necessarily like animal shelters because a lot of stuff is other things in the complex.
Right.
So there's apartments involved, there's whatever.
They don't want
a bunch of barking dogs and what we need is warehouse space.
Right.
Basically.
For example, the Brooklyn Navy Yard or Hunts Point, you've got a lot of even in Sunset Park, you've got a lot of warehouses there.
The warehouse that we opened 5 years ago, it was at Sunset Park. It was that warehouse was about $5,000 a year, which was decent. Over the course of the 5 years, if I would try to rent that same space now,
Right.
it would be over $10,000 a month.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's just gotten to be,
Yeah.
and you got to heat it, you got to feed the animals, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars a month.
So how do you do
anything?
That's a lot of money. How do you do your fundraising? You just reach out to folks that
We
adopt?
reach out to people that adopt. We send out our monthly newsletter. We have little events every year. Do fundraisers at restaurants.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
We beg and borrow. Our needs are small.
All right.
We're not pretty. I don't have a state-of-the-art facility because we can't pay for it.
Right.
The money that we take in goes right to the animals.
What about all these sharp-looking young people you got working for you? How do they get paid?
Some are paid and some are
Volunteers?
Yep.
I can see they really love the animals. That's fantastic. How do you recruit these
A lot
folks?
of them end up being volunteers that eventually become employees. They've been here long enough, and we see what they've done. When positions open up, we hire them. So sometimes that's the best way
Great.
for us to find
That's
people.
fantastic. Well, you got an ally in Sal Albanese. I'm going to be very aggressive on this stuff because it's the right thing to do, and it's really not that difficult to do. I've said this over and over again. It just takes a little political will. We want to spin ACC out of the Department of Health, create a Bureau of Animal Care and Control, which would be an agency in of by itself instead of being buried in the department. The Department of Health right now can't even handle the mental health issues. Never mind, the animal care. They're not even paying attention to that stuff. So you spin it out, create a state. Yeah, that would be
The
great.
ACC has been bouncing around today. It used to be run by the sanitation department. And it got transferred to the Department of Health.
Sanitation department.
Right. That's where they were. But all these things, all these other places, they have other things to deal with. So,
Yeah.
and there's enough of it that it should be its own entity.
That's once again not that hard to do. A little political will, and I'm going to call on you for some advice and counsel along with Gina and Rob and company. I think it's what you do. You're a hero. I mean, it's amazing. It really is what you do. So great to meet you, and I
Pleasure to meet
appreciate
you.
the
Thank you for
feedback.
coming
And let's
by.
stay in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah, creating the Department of Animal Welfare, I think, is very important, which is what Sal has in mind. Because I went to the ACC board meeting on Friday, and I personally felt there was mismanagement. I personally felt that things needed to change. It was my first meeting that I went to. I'm in the media. People reach out to me and they say, "What's going on?" And we're always looking to help. And I'm a big animal activist. I love animals. I have 4. You know what I mean? And when I found out about you through Gina, I said, well, let's go down there. Let's see what this guy's operation is about. Let's see if we can help him out. And also,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, yeah, give you a better idea of what we want to do.
Right.
He's like the only candidate that has animal welfare on the agenda. And yeah,
Well,
but
it's the right thing to do. It's good for the city. Animals have to be treated humanely, I was really impressed with what Gina has been doing with the Korean dogs. I mean, I was shocked at how extensive the Korean farms are. They eat dogs. Dogs eat in Korea, and one of the things I pointed out is, once again, being New York City, if you can bring attention to that, it causes a ripple effect. I know that some people in Korea, according to Gina, who are in the business, are concerned about the stigma, right? So you do stuff in the city of New York which says, hey, this is a terrible practice. It's going to have an impact. So the Bureau of Animal Welfare could generate that kind of stuff, and the city council, when I was a council member, we did a lot of stuff that impacted international issues, right? We didn't have the power to do it, but the PR aspect of it was very effective. So, and those dogs, those jingos, right? Jingos, they're beautiful dogs. God, amazing stuff. So, there's a lot we can do. It's once again, I don't think it's it's almost a no-brainer, really.
the main thing we're going to be ending also, along with animals that need homes, we're going to be ending political corruption. That's a big thing in New York City.
I've got
You agree?
He
agrees.
I have a plan. I have a plan called democracy vouchers, which will eliminate all of the political corruption in New York City that we see now. There's 12 investigations involving the mayor and others. what Seattle, once again, another city, is doing great work, right? What they've done is every registered voter in Seattle receives four $25 vouchers, right? And they can donate that to any candidate from municipal office. And what's beautiful about that is it eliminates candidates from calling people that were major fit. You know, you're a real estate developer, you want a tax abatement, and all this money goes into a campaign's coffers, and it forces. It's corruption. It's quid pro quos, and I don't talk about waste of money, where money could go into things like quality shelters, and money's being wasted because these guys are receiving all kinds of benefits that they don't need, and they're just getting it because they're giving money to politicians. So this voucher plan called Democracy Vouchers, I'm not reinventing the wheel. They're doing it in Seattle. It would be tremendous because it forces politicians to engage the Sean Caseys of the world, or anybody who's a registered voter. Say, sure, I want your vouchers. Good, you support me, and you're forcing people running for office to engage with citizens rather than just calling people, for dollars constantly. So it's a great plan, and I'm looking forward to implementing it if I win this job. I mean, quite frankly, one of my problems with fundraising is because I'm not accepting money from lobbyists. I'm not accepting money from deep pocket interests, and I'm considered unreliable to the political class because of my. I have 15 years on the city council. I was totally independent. Just look up my record, you can see it. So they know that I'm quote unreliable, and I want to be unreliable because I want to make sure we have democracy in the city. So. As I said, there are a lot of issues that are not hard to solve. This is one of them. All we need is people that are going to pay attention to it and put their resources into it.
That's why we're in a residential neighborhood, not some crazy warehouse district nobody wants to go to.
Right.
It makes people a little bit more comfortable with the whole process. It also lets people see that shelters have all kinds of animals: big animals, small animals, young animals, old animals.
It's a beautiful dog.
A lot of people think New York City shelters only pit bulls. Not true. You can get any kind of dog in a shelter.
A lot of them come from high kill counts.
High kill pounds, right?
Some down south, 5 days.
And it ends up ultimately being more of it just brings attention to shelters and what we do and what you can find. And it tends to lead to more adoptions later. We get a lot of people the week after an adoption event that call up and say, I met such and such, I can't believe we got a dog like that in a shelter. We have people walk on the bus and they say, how is this dog in a shelter? I don't understand. We have tons of dogs that are just like it. A shelter animal is not necessarily a stigma. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with it. It doesn't mean that it's aggressive or it's sick.
Some people just can't take care of the dog, right? And they for whatever reasons.
Some of them are irresponsible owners.
Irresponsible owners, They didn't think it would take work, right? So as soon as they have a dog, they'd say, this is a lot of work, I'm going to get rid of the dog, right?
Yep.
It's terrible.
We're grassroots. A lot of our dogs come fresh off the streets of New York City, and they come in all different types of conditions, and we take them to the vet. We treat them, we raise money to fix them, and that's what we do.
It's fantastic. Really fantastic.
A lot of dogs come to us, and cats, and every other animal. Some of them are on the brink of death.
Mostly dogs and cats, right?
We do everything.
I saw birds.
And iguana. When we started out, we didn't do dogs and cats at all. We only did reptiles.
Really?
I felt at the time nobody was looking out for the exotic animals, and there were so many places doing cats and dogs. They said they don't need me. So I did exotics for many years, and then I realized that there were still cats and dogs being euthanized by the tens of thousands. So I said, push down to just this room, the warehouse.
From the warehouse.
The warehouse was 5,000 square feet. It was 2 floors. We had big runs.
How many more dogs did they take care of?
We could in that location we could fit probably 75 dogs.
Really? Now how many here?
Usually about 30.
And how long does it take their dogs?
We have a very high turnover. So our average length of stay is 18 and a half days. Occasionally we have dogs that are here longer. Usually they're the bigger dogs, the pit bulls, or dogs that have behavioral issues. Those tend to stick around a little bit longer. The smaller dogs, younger dogs, sometimes they're only here a day or two. We have a very good turnover. This location does about 2,000 adoptions a year.
Wow.
So ACC, if you come with your dog and ACC has no space, they still have to take your dog.
Right.
So that means they have to create a space. There's only one way they're going to create a space, and that's the problem. For us, the problem is different because we just say no. But that's hard too, because then what happens to that animal? Maybe they'll bring it to ACC. Maybe they're going to dump it in the street. Maybe they're going to, half the time I tell people no, and then they go around the corner and tie up the pole, and I wind up with it anyway. Then I'm overcrowded. And then the city wants to come in and say, oh, you're overcrowded.
The city comes in and says it's
Well, so you're going to say you're overcrowded.
How often do they come by and inspect?
They inspect, they have to inspect at least once a year. And then if anybody makes a complaint, they come off. So
Who inspects who are the,
it's usually Department of Health.
so how many of these rescue shelters are there in the city? Yeah.
As it stands right now, as far as I know, outside of ACC, it's in Brooklyn, it's me, and it's Bark over in Williamsburg. And then they have, in Manhattan, you have Animal Haven. Those are the small ones.
So you don't have that many, really?
No, and that's part of the problem, because it's hard to find appropriate space.
Right.
It's hard to find landlord. No landlord wants an animal shelter in
Right,
their,
sure.
in their location, and I understand that. Whoops. Like when we go looking for things, I'll tell you all the time. The first question when you go through, well, what kind of business is it? You tell them, like, no, yeah, we're not interested. Even in the warehouses.
So
they
you
just,
need warehouses in industrial areas, pretty much.
sort
right?
of. I kind of. That would give us the space.
Right.
But the difference is,
You don't have to-
here, I got the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right.
You come here, there's people lined up to walk dogs.
Yeah. And it's
All the neighbors are part of this.
part of the community.
Yeah.
Instead of
So,
being isolated.
that
And
helps.
that also creates stigma too, right?
Right.
So
And now in the neighborhoods, there are warehouses in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not affordable.
where are they?
Like, for instance, you go right up here the block, up 20th Street, there's lines of warehouses.
Really?
But you're still in the neighborhood.
Right.
But you look in this neighborhood, it's Windsor Terrace, so a 5,000 square foot warehouse, you're probably talking $20,000 a month just on the rent.
Well, you know, as
Possible
a
in New York City.
non-profit, you can't catch a break on that. And it's
Private owners,
they don't
care.
Well, they could be subsidized too. They
Can be.
private owners. Look, where there's a will, there's a way. Especially somebody, with your reputation, who's been doing it for a long time. You know what you're doing. You take care of the dogs. It's not like you're a partner who you're a newcomer at this stuff.
I mean, I know what we do. We take in under $500,000 a year. Okay? You see other facilities are taking in tens of millions of dollars a year. You know, it's like you could do a lot more with that.
Right.
Not saying I'm
With
doing
the
a lot,
money, yeah.
but a lot more could be done with that.
Right.
And there could be a lot more help for the little guys that are, because we're the ones on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not caught up in the bureaucracy. I can do things my way,
Right.
and do things sometimes that they can't.
Right. Much more flexible, sure.
Right. And we get a lot done.
Yeah. Well, look, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate me on this stuff.
And like I said, I would love to not have this tiny crowded space.
You're like, this is really crowded.
This is what it is. Grassroots.
This is Sal. He's going to help you.
How are you?
He's going to help you.
You're so cute.
Say hi to the camera. Say hi, baby. Say hi. Charlie, right? Say hi, Charlie. Everyone's looking out there, buddy.
Say adopt me,
Adopt me, adopt me now. I'm at the Sean Casey Animal Rescue here in Brooklyn, New York. And here I am with little old Charlie. He's 12 years old, Chihuahua mix. He's looking for a home. Somebody call in. You can take him home at any time, fill out adoption paperwork, and he could be yours. Right, Charlie? Say bye. Take care, guys. Oh, yeah, one more thing. On April 8th at 1 p.m., Washington Square Park, there will be a Sal for Mayor rally. One of the reasons why I am endorsing him is because he is the only candidate that has animal welfare on his agenda. Creating a Department of Animal Welfare for New York City to oversee all the animal-related issues and to help little guys like Charlie find a home. Very important. So I highly suggest everyone, April the 8th at 1 o'clock, I'll put it on WPAT on the air. I'll mention it all over. Show up, show support, and try to get as many people down as possible because we need all the help that we can get, and so do these animals. Thanks for watching.